Check out Banggood.com for your RC needs. This is where this kit came from, as well as you can get parts for it and many other builds. What's going on there, YouTube? Part 2 on the TFL Bronco build, brought to you by Banggood.com. So, I started looking through the instructions, and it seems fairly straightforward. I mean, most crawler kits these days, the axles and the gearbox come pre-assembled. So you're just putting links together, hooking up, stuff like that. And that's no different with this one, except all the scale body stuff. So I got to step 6, body assembly, already. So I'm going to have to paint some stuff. It's kind of humid, rainy outside, so not sure yet how this is going to work. I'm trying to figure out a color. I hadn't gone and bought anything. I needed to get online and do some research real quick and look at vintage Broncos, see what they came like, because I've barely seen any of those in real life anymore. They're really hard to come across, and all the ones I have seen, if you watch GCM Racing Channel, they went to some Bronco shows. I mean, they're all pretty well modded, or all the original ones were just like one color and stuff like that. So I need to do a little research and see what kind of color scheme would be correct for the body style, as well as something that I would like. All of these panels are fiberglass, and they are gel coated like a boat hull. So there's a texture on the bottom. It's not like an old fiberglass shower where you're gonna get splinters off of it. It's gel coated lightly on that, but this is the smooth side. So I'm not sure how paint's gonna stick to that. I may have to do a little scuffing just to texture it a little bit so the paint has something to adhere to. The floorboard and the dash are actually glossier than the body, but they're all done in about the same process. So we do have some stickers. I forgot to even show you all this stuff. I got the instructions out. Again, this is a kit. There's no electronics. We've got a TFL flyer here. They make axles for SEX 10.2s already. Got lots of cool stuff. Really, being here in Texas, I've never heard of this stuff. So this thing's got a carbon fiber chassis. It's pretty wild. They got all these accessories, different wheels and tires. They even have tools. Nice tool sets with holders, which is pretty cool. I need to get me one of these stands. That would be handy for trying to do stuff, spin it around. But yeah, that's kind of cool. You know, stuff like this used to, I don't remember if you buy a Lego set when I was a kid back in the 80s and 90s, and for me, I would open it as soon as we got to the car at the store and pull out the book. I always wanted to look at the book. It had all the other new kits that you could do and buy. And that's kind of cool that these came with that. It's just one of those little small things that makes me smile. So, I'm going to go look at some colors. See what I've got in stock. Alright guys, I'm looking at these two greens. I found some original colors similar to both of these. I'm thinking some white striping, maybe the cowl on the hood and a stripe down the side, or something like that. So I'm not sure yet. All the ones I found this green, this moss green, excuse me, were mostly stock restoration looking ones, and most of the ones this kind of olive green were mild mods. They were still stock bodied, but they were lifted with tires that would rub everything and stuff like that. So I'm not sure. I mean, going with a stark white, I'm leaning more towards this one. This, I'm afraid, is going to be a little too, yeah, just going to stick out a little too much. So I'm leaning towards this. This is a satin, and once I paint the white stripe, I think I would do a satin clear and not weather it. Need some epic music to play right here. So I'm thinking about not weathering an RC car. Some of you may be shocked, some of you may be pleasantly pleased. So I get that a lot. People, you know, I do it all the time. I think I only have one RC that's not weathered. And that's the Amigo, and it's got scratches and wear on it. It's just real stuff, not stuff I've done. So I think let's keep this thing nice looking. We'll let it get weathered on its own. So I'm leaning towards that color with a satin clear on white stripes. Now, it says in the instructions to paint the floorboard black, and I don't want to do that because your car is not, your floorboards are body colored. So that's why I had to do this first. And so I'm going to go ahead and paint the dash and the floorboard, and then we'll come back and do the console and stuff, because I don't, you know, obviously that's not stamped from the same piece of metal, but the floorboard itself is going to be the body color. So I'm going to go outside and hope it's not raining and start putting down some paint. So I've got the right bags here. I went ahead and sprayed some of that green on the dash and the floor pan. It's not liking that gel coat on that fiberglass, so I have to see how it is when it dries. Plus the weather's not right here for painting. It's cloudy, humid, and been sprinkling pretty much all day, so I brought them in, let it dry. We'll see what we get. We're probably going to have to do a little scuffing, cleaning, priming, smoothing of the body. It'll be a little more involved than I'd like, but it's a different material. You know, you got to work with it differently. So moving on to the axles here. Step one is put the rods together. The rods coming together already. Winning. Step two is to get your front axle. Open bag B, which is this hardware here. And it wants us to mount some steering arms to the knuckles. So got these here. Nice aluminum pieces. And I looked at the threads on the axle, and man, there's just clean, and the finish goes all the way down to the bottom. There's no bare spots left in the metal. The anodizing that they use, pretty good quality stuff. So these are the same. There you go, one on each side facing inward with the 6mm hardware. Yeah. Alright, let me get the right tools out. Still using my Team Integy circa 1999 hardware tool sets that I've had forever. They still work well, other than the 0.5mm broke. But you know, we always break those. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw these on. It shows to put our steering link on after that. I gotta get some Loctite because I just remembered I didn't have any out. So I'm gonna get those steps done and then we'll come back. Alright guys, I went ahead and knocked out 2 steps. Everything's going together fine. All the hardware has been there and where it's supposed to be. Only issue I had, Loctite. Don't put blue thread locker in red containers. You confuse people. As soon as I cut the tip off of it, it squirted out everywhere. So I've got a puddle here on the workbench I'm dipping my hardware in as I need to Loctite them. Everything's looking good. The steering rods and everything are nice and solid. My drag link here is adjustable. It just screws out. Looks like a hydraulic assist steering setup. So I'm not sure yet how far out that needs to go. So we'll just leave that alone. And it's basic like SCX10 style setup. And triangulated 4-link shocks mounted to the lower link mounts. Coil spring suspension. Really nice looking hardware though, man. It's all solid. I like it. So let's set that aside. See what page 2 brings. Rear axle, same thing. Then I gotta find a motor. Alright. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw the links and the suspension or shocks, I'm sorry. Throw the shocks and the rear suspension on the rear axle, and start looking for a motor so we can move on to the next step. Alright guys, rear axle is done. Yeah. Same as the front minus the steering. Everything's simple and easy. I will say the hardware for this kit it seems very high quality. It looks like stainless. I don't know if it really is or not, but I haven't rounded off any heads yet. Everything is nice and tight, and it's been superb. So it's nice for a change. So next up is the transmission. I've got the bag E dumped out here. Got my LS engine cover. I know that's going to aggravate some of y'all. It could be a Hemi. I mean, it's just generic, but it's kind of cool to have something to cover the engine, even though the hood doesn't open on this. It does look like a 6, or well, I don't even know the Dodge numbers. Could be a Chrysler Hemi. The crate motors have a intake set up like that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I have all the electronics I need for this car, except the ESC. I had a spare set of good stuff, and I stole my Axial AE3? AE2, I don't know. Whichever one's the little Castle knockoff. And I stole that and put that in the #1 rat rod build when I did that because I needed something. So that may be coming back out of there. I have another basic Tamiya ESC that could go into that, since that's not going to be driven much. But for the motor, I've got my Holmes Hobby Torque Master Expert 27 turn. This little engine, it can, man. It's got amazing low end torque. It has more low end torque than my 55 turn brushed Novak Super Crawler Rooster thingy mabob that I've got. And it has 3 times the top speed. It's a really good mix. I love Holmes Hobby motors. I'm not sponsored. They are just good stuff. And they've got an application for anything you can think of. If you hadn't seen ESPRC, he does his Holmes Hobby motor control videos almost weekly. And they literally have an engine for everything. Brushed, brushless, anything from hand wound high speed to hand wound low torque. They got it all. So I like this engine. It might be a little peppy for this thing, but we'll find out once we get it in. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We've got a couple brackets here that I don't think it calls out for yet. These are going to be spacers for the transmission to fit in the frame rail. And so I'm going to set those aside. We have a bracket here that mounts our scale engine cover over our scale engine. Somewhere, I think it goes there. And that's about it. We've got set screws. This is fiberglass too. You can see the weave on the inside. The outside is perfectly smooth. Looks like a what do you call it? Just a cast piece. You know, it looks like injection molded plastic. Sounds like plastic, feels like plastic, but on the bottom it's got that weave. It's pretty cool. It's a different way of doing things. I don't know if it's cost effective one way or another, but the finished product's pretty cool. So I'm going to knock this stuff out real quick. This shouldn't take real long, and then we'll see how much further we can get. Alright guys, got that together. Only thing that gave me trouble were the holes in the fiberglass engine cover. They are a little bit smaller. Had to force thread them through. But it's in. Everything looks good. I had a little bit of trouble with the engine. There's a bolt from the inside with a washer, and then they want a spacer between it. And it's just a little tricky getting it all lined up and having Loctite on stuff. So not that big of a deal. It worked. It's in. No real complaints so far. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap up this installment. The next step here shows painting the floorboards, and I can't make that happen immediately despite my best efforts. So that's where we're going to wrap this one. So again, if you haven't checked it out yet, you can get these truck kits from TFL on Banggood.com. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all on the next installment.